Welcome to Ethical Edge Insights, Conversations with ChangeMakers, a space for deeply reflective conversations with those shaping our world. Here we explore their journeys, their greatest challenges, their most significant contributions to date, the contributions they seek to make, and how ethics have shown up along the way. Join us as we uncover the stories that shape our shared future. It's morning for both of us, bright and early, sparkly clean, and hopefully our minds are ready for a good bit of work as well. So Kirsten, thank you so much for joining me for the New Year series of conversations that I'm having with lots of different people. And I've just been thinking about when we first kind of met, because it's been a bit odd in that we haven't actually met proper, but you did speak at the Coaching Ethics Forum conference last year, and that was a lot of fun, actually, extraordinarily informative, but also a lot of fun. Well, at least you inspired my sense of humor throughout, so that was good fun.
I'm glad.
And I hope that we can have you back at the forum again another year for a conference. This year is a little bit different, so we have very different voices this year, but hopefully we'll have you back again. And so today we're here to talk about you, and we're going to learn more about you. Much of it you already know, and then hopefully we'll venture into some on-the-spot kind of thinking.
Sure.
So it is reflective, I guess. So first of all, can you fill in every gap that I've missed, which is all of it, of who you are? It's like your professional journey, where it began through to now, the story.
So, I mean, a lot of people watching this might not know who I am. Maybe I'll start with what I'm doing now. I'm the owner and founder of Solutions Academy, an EMCC and ICF accredited coach training school. And usually I have like tons of letters behind my name. So I'm EMCC master practitioner, ICF MCC. I was president past, and president-elect of ICF Germany. I volunteer in the assessors team of the ICF for PCC and MCC, and also help with EMCC accreditations. And so that's kind of what I'm doing. And I have been coaching since 1996, so for a very, very long time. When in Germany, I think nobody even really knew what coaching was, and it was very much in its infancy at that point. And I've been, I started as a coach / trainer / business English teacher / translator. And slowly coaching and coach training and coaching supervision has taken more and more of my time. And at the moment, what I'm doing is mainly writing and creating content for my coach training school, but also for other publications. So we've published solution-focused team coaching, solution-focused coaching supervision, or in the process of writing a primer on interactional coaching. And ever since I started with coaching, what has been very important for me is this idea of thinking with our clients rather than about our clients. And that already, she said, how did it start? Was right at the beginning. So basically I morphed from being a business English teacher to leadership trainer / coach, because my education as a Master of Arts in Religion from the US, it was difficult to find a job in Germany with that. So, okay, and then I realized, hey, if I'm doing something called presenting in English and calling it a business English training, I get about 1/10 of the money than if I call it presenting and it happens to be in English and it's a training. So that's when I decided, hey, coaching and training is really a cool thing. And even before that, when I was studying theology, I wanted to move into pastoral counseling. And meeting people at the crossroads of their lives is something I think that connects pastoral counseling and coaching. And I love meaningful conversations. So studying theology, I really wanted to move into pastoral counseling. At that time, that was highly psychodynamic.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea was you have to reflect on and relive all your family of origin trauma in order to become this clean slate, to be able to analyze other people. And that just, even when I was 19, really rubbed me the wrong way. I wasn't in the business of analyzing other people. And so I gave up that dream until I re-met coaching. And met coaching in a first approach I learned was inner game coaching, and then solution focused coaching. And I had found my home in solution focus because there the focus is on the interaction between coach and client and what they are co-creating.
Yeah.
And not about the coach stepping back as an observer and thinking about the client in any way. And I just found that deeply respectful. And while I know that everyone who is in the analytic field is not doing this in a badly intentioned way, I personally have my ethical qualms with making another person the object of my thinking.
Yeah, and so I think there's pros and cons to the psychoanalytic method, and there's aspects of it that really does play into coaching really nicely without you having to actually analyze anyone. And it can be just about the interaction between the two, and you can, before you know it, you can be feeling or sensing like this person is speaking or thinking because of how they're speaking or the way they're acting, as if they have you in a particular role it comes out a lot more in therapy, in my experience, but it can come out a little bit in the different roles that people will start putting you in, even though you're there as the coach, but they're identifying with you because you're probably you're the only human in the room with them, and they start identifying you as some other entity in their life. But you can play with that. Even in the coaching, you can deliberately step into playing a role. If you're going to role play something, for example, which is not classed as pure coaching, but it's actually very helpful.
Well, I think if trying on new behaviors and seeing if it fits, that I think has a lot of has a good place in coaching. I would challenge you on the notion that we need that construct of roles. I would say I agree completely with your objective, which is to create a relationship between coach and client that is beneficial for the client.
Yeah.
I personally don't have to think about, is this person mistaking me for someone else? So if I'm noticing something that's off, I can just surface, hey, I'm feeling something's off. What do we need to be doing differently?
Yeah.
So it's not off. And then if the client says, no, everything's fine, nothing is off, then okay, end of story.
It's interesting the language you use. You use the language off, whereas I might be inclined to be not using off, but actually giving more adjectives to what I'm experiencing. But that's a different style of approaching the same thing.
Yeah, and I don't think I need I need qualitative differences. I just need me and the client to find a space that's beneficial for the client, and the client gets to decide what that is.
Exactly.
So that's why I don't need theories around which role are they putting me in, or I can see how this can be helpful.
Yeah.
I think I just have maybe a little bit more direct. It's like, okay, hey client, is this working for you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, not so sure. Okay, so what's working, what's not working? May I share what's working for me as a coach? And basically we get to the same results.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is a reflection on, is the relationship serving the client,
Yeah, exactly.
and which ways?
Yeah. And I guess, because I'm a psychologist, so I'm a coaching psychologist, and I was trained in solution focused with Tony Grant. So it's like that all funnels into how I show up and how I think about what's going on. But I'm interested to know about, and I'm glad you started speaking about your interest and education around theology and your desires, and that it actually came to a crux where you went, I don't think this is going to work, what you originally wanted. But I'm wondering, how does that influence you now in your coaching? Is there a thread still running there?
Yeah, I think so. My philosophical position is a social constructionist position, and postmodern social constructionist, and I think that really informs the way I coach. And it sounds very woolly when you describe it, kind of, and everybody agrees when we say, oh, we prefer plurality of views rather than a single truth. Everybody says, yes, that is true. We prefer flux rather than static. Of course, we want change, blah, blah. But then when you say, but what are you doing when you are doing a personality test with someone? Are you fluxifying someone? Are you making something more fluid, or are you actually making something more rigid? Or I wouldn't, rigid has slightly negative connotations, but are you solidifying something?
Yeah.
And I think you are solidifying something. Or when you are talking about, well, therapy would talk about a depression. A person has a depression versus, or even worse, is depressed.
Yeah.
Versus saying, this is a person who is experiencing profound sadness and the difficulty to get up in the morning, maybe, whatever their form of quote unquote depression is. And when you look at those details, it becomes a little bit more differentiated, maybe. And again, I speak about preferences. I don't speak about this is right and this is wrong. But I'm really not interested in colonializing anybody's minds and experience. And I would much rather learn, who are they? What are they contending with at the moment? What are the stories that they're telling themselves that are helpful to them? If they don't operate in stories, what are the images? If they don't operate in images, just how will they notice that things are getting better? What have they experienced in the past that can help? So I'm almost like a participant observer to the client. And maybe as a side note, I find this so ironic. It is 100 years ago that anthropology discovered that it is much better to do participant observation rather than classification and solidification of a Western view on the natives. So 100 years ago, a science discovered, hey, when we're dealing with people, let's maybe not impose our own thought system. And tada, when you're looking at what coaching is doing and what you are seeing as part of educations and coaching, it's a lot about thinking about classifying, about identifying inner drivers, identifying this, that, and the other thing. And for me, that veers a little bit away from this participant observation that anthropology discovered 100 years ago. And I think when you are following the path of individual psychology rather than social psychology, it makes complete sense to be looking at the person and their parts and their classifications and the taxonomies and on that side. But then you are really in pursuit of truth, of one truth. You are having a scientific project of recognizing what is, rather than on the social constructionist side, where we're interested, or maybe you could also say phenomenological, where we're interested in what is your experience? What is your experience? Tell me in your words, your own experience.
Mm-hmm.
And the irony is, if you talk like that to coaches, everybody will say, well, of course I'm interested in the experience. But there is a little bit of a fuzzy epistemological divide between preferences for the truth and preferences for truths. And it's not, I mean, we don't talk about philosophy or ontology, epistemology, axiology. Coaches are usually not interested in that kind of thing. And I think, in a long answer to your question, my theological and philosophical training invites me to think about these things maybe in slightly different ways than if you come from coaching from a let's say management or economics, business administration background.
Yep. Yep. It's true. And so do you think that aside from you thinking about these things, do you think that actually it influences your coaching?
Totally.
Mm-hmm. In what way?
I think my recent development toward collaborative and narrative practice, I would say, shows this. Like I've been doing narrative for 6, 7 years now, combined with solution focus. And when I started with solution focus, I had this idea that there is one process and this process always works. And it's basically, you have this big pasta machine and you noodle your client through the pasta machine. Like unhappy client, noodle, 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 happy client, right? Just like ask, what do you want? Suppose you have it. What would that look like on a scale of 0 to 10? Where are you now? What would the next step look like, or signs of progress? It's like one process, one size fit for all, as Steve DeShazer said. It's a skeleton key, and ta-da! And it's not wrong. It does work. At the moment, my coaching is still inspired by the idea that it is really good for people to look at who they want to become, what they want, what they really want in their lives, and identify the stories that support them in moving toward that. So it's still my basic idea, but I'm just so much more flexible and go with the client, and partnering has become very important to me to not have one process that is, always working, but really SCF has this word dancing with a client, but I love the narrative description of decentered and influential. So the main thing I want to take care of is that the client is in the center of the conversation, but I am fully there as a human being as well. I'm just not in the middle. I'm somewhere off to the center, and I can jump into the center for a bit, and then I can jump out again. And So I think my coaching has become much more fluid, much more customized.
Mm-hmm.
Every coaching session is different,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe every coaching session changes the coach and the client.
Yeah. Mm. I agree. It fascinates me that there's a one size fits all going around out there, when we're all so uniquely different. So that's an interesting concept that happens. So, I know of a lot of your work fairly well, but some of us may not. And so, you're quite famous for the solution focused approach. What's something that you've done that maybe we don't know about that you're proud of?
I have 3 beautiful children whom I'm absolutely super proud of.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's not something that I've done, but something that we have collaborated on. And I'm, yeah, at the moment, I'm the roommate of my middle child, who is 30, and we
Mhm.
get along fabulously. And I'm I'm very proud that we can have this adult relationship between mother and child that has moved into not mother and child, but as a kind of really good friends, roommates. Yeah, that's, and professionally, I don't know. I think professionally, everybody knows what I've done. I don't think there's anything.
Sometimes there's something hidden away that's not so well known, but kind of tickles you that, well, geez, I'm glad I put that out in the space, even if it's not so well known. And so sometimes people surface something new that we don't know. But I love your answer about, personally, I love your answer about the mothering, and it always intrigues me, people who've had more than one child, because I'm a mother to one, and I go, I felt the pressure, I had to get it right the first time.
Oh, yes.
It's fine. There's people who've had more than one, they could trial error a bit more, whereas I was going,
You do
trial
learn.
error, bang, I failed that one. I got to get up and do it again with the same one in a better way. It's a funny journey, that, because I found a lot of my growth through my mothering experience, actually. Uh,
Mm, mm.
That's certainly made me a much better person, I think.
Likewise. Yeah, I learned so much from my children.
Yeah. And grandchildren, now that I have one of those too. That's a whole other treat, a whole
Mm.
other conversation. So, speaking about ethics, because that's what this change makers conversation has the thread running through it, really, is that how has it shown up, or how does it show up in your decision making? And can you give us an example?
I th- uh, you shared this question, and I was thinking, what are the gnarly bits? When does it really get difficult for me?
Mm,
And it usually doesn't. Usually, it's pretty clear. Um, when it becomes muddled is when there is a conflict between respecting the autonomy of a person and also respecting everybody else. So when there is a conflict between, yes, there are multiple truths, but this truth is hurting other people.
mm,
So, for example, let's say I coached someone and I figured out they're a fundamentalist Christian who doesn't believe that women should have the right to vote.
mm. That's a challenge.
And those are the ones that I'm grappling with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or I'm also working in Saudi for lovely people.
Mm,
So, but I have to be a little bit on my toes because I don't want to be um, bringing a, or furthering a world that I don't want to belong to.
mm,
And I think that's really when it gets gnarly and difficult because obviously there is more to the person than their political belief, and there's more to the person than their religious belief, and there may be usually 90% of the person that I find delightful and lovely and supportable and lovable and worthy of kindness and compassion. And there is this maybe 5% divide where I'm, you know what? I'm not comfortable with the world that you're building. I'm not comfortable with your intention. And then weighing how serious this is for me. Can I keep unconditional positive regard?
That's a great question to ask. Because the challenge is, I recall at one of the openings of the Coaching Ethics Forum conference, and Michael Kavanagh and I were having a chat in the welcome. It was an open chat that we were both doing the welcome. And one of the things that was arising in our free-flying conversation was the fact that people can hold an ethical stance to not step into a coaching environment where, you know, maybe you're against smoking because of whatever reason, so you choose to never coach anyone who works for or within a smoking environment, like who produces smokes or cigarettes. And then, but at the same time, then it's about what your question is, you know, can I be in that environment that I totally am opposed to and still make some good? And can I hold them in that neutral, that positive regard, but actually end up with a really cool outcome at the end? So it's like you have to make this decision, yeah, which way you're going to walk, exactly what you're saying. That it's not people look at that decision and go, I just wouldn't go there because it's against my values.
Yeah, and I think that the problem starts by solidifying values into a thing.
Yep.
Because when you say my value is this, a lot of flexibility goes out the window. If you say, I prefer to build a world in which everybody is healthy and is not, how can you say that positively, but negatively said, is not seduced by advertisement into harming their own health.
Yep.
If you say it's my strong preference, then you can say, yes, it's my preference, and I choose to coach this lovely marketing director of a cigarette company because there is so much else in this person than where she works that I want to support. But it's a very personal decision. It's like, does it?
Exactly. There's no right or wrong. And that's why it's worthy of the conversation to really highlight that it is a seesawing navigation of what am I going to do here, and can I be here with it? It's a great example. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, and it's kind of, can I hold the person in unconditional positive regard? Can I talk about everything with that person, or will I have to have blinders on? It's not a very good thing to coach when you're having blinders on, right? Can I be professional? How will I feel about this coaching relationship if my ethical issue is unresolved, and every time I have a conversation, it rears its head and I am distracted and not present with that person? Does the person want something that can be a common project with me? If the marketing director says, what I want to do is I want to increase cigarette sales by blah, blah, help me do that, then obviously, if that's not the world that you want to be, it cannot, to build, it cannot be a common project.
Yep.
So many interesting reflection questions that woven together will probably produce a decision, and many other questions that I'm now forgetting, obviously.
It's a very good example. I love that. So speaking about change makers, the word gives you the idea that something that you step into something and something else ends up at the other end. And I like to also explore what challenges people have had, because in those challenges there have been all these ethical quandaries, and it takes quite a bit of quite a bit of gumption sometimes to walk through it. And some of the stories I've heard, actually, they've ended up with a negative outcome for the person, just because they've taken a stand. So it's very curious, and I think really important for us to be sharing some of these stories about where we've been challenged in our professional life and how we walk through them. So I'd love for you to share the story if you can, and we'll maintain confidentiality, of course.
I think one of my very interesting challenges was starting to engage with the International Coaching Federation. When I was trying to get my master certified coach, and it continues to be a challenge, a friendly challenge maybe, to engage with an epistemology that is really neither spoken openly nor something that I can agree with. So I'm disagreeing with something that is not even out there because it's implicit.
Okay.
And it's not a challenge that's been resolved.
Mm-hmm.
And I think continuously working on making our philosophical foundations visible so we can have fruitful discussions. So last month, no, 2 months ago, I don't know, I spoke with Joel DiGirolamo, who is the director of research from the International Coaching Federation. And we disagree on a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like him as a person. And I think he appreciates me too, I hope anyway. Joel, if you're listening to this, you can let me know. It, where I am seeing coaching being put into a kind of results and business driven corset.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And of course, if you are going to hire a welder, you can do a job analysis, ask all the experienced welders, what does an experienced welder need to be able to do? What are some of the critical incidents? You can run through this job analysis process that ICF has run through in order to identify core competencies.
Mm-hmm.
For a welder, I think this is completely appropriate.
Yeah.
Because then that'll give you guidance as to who to hire as a welder, what to develop in a welder, how to recognize competence and skills.
Mm-hmm.
Now, doing that for a complex task, like a human co-created human conversation
Mm-hmm.
across all cultures
Mm-hmm.
globally, and then making this highly US American driven standard,
Mm-hmm.
the gold standard
Yep.
for the whole world.
Yeah.
I think that's colonialism. Thank you. Of course, no, I wouldn't. They don't mean to. They're lovely people.
Yeah.
It's not that they go like, let's colonialize country. No, but what ICF is doing is they're taking this kind of a small sliver of coaching,
Mm-hmm.
and coaching is like this. Coaching is much more diverse. And they're making this into something that now everybody has to learn about. And that is my ethical challenge, where I'm sometimes feeling a little bit like, I try not to stay away from fighting metaphors, because that's not useful, but I do sometimes feel like the old Don Quixote and his windmills. And then I say, no, these are not windmills. These are all lovely people. We just have to have conversations, and we have to find ways of talking about this, and creating. And the problem is that there is no awareness around these differences, because a lot of people have grown up in this corridor,
Yeah.
and for them that's the water, and
Yeah.
they don't see the water outside. Not
Yeah.
because they are dumb, but
Mm.
that's their reality, which is
Yeah.
valid. So that's my unresolved ethical issue. Anybody wants to give me supervision, please give me a ring.
Well, I have to say that's pretty much my own challenge with it all as well, but with all the coaching bodies, that I describe it as everyone who's affiliated strongly with a coaching body, really viewing everything through in a silo, and that's pretty much your corridor that you're talking about. And it's amazing how people they feel like they're being pointed at, and they get quite defensive around that, when it's noted. And then also the other point for me in particular was about how ethics is given a certain number of points, and I think across the whole span of it, it's a pretty small number of points. And I'm thinking that there's ethics that should be the largest number of points, and everything else funnel into it if you want to pointify it.
So although you have to give that to ICF when they're doing their performance evaluation. If something unethical happens in the coaching, it's automatically a fail.
Yeah.
So it is the most important thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and then when you take this multiple choice exam, um, ethics, I think has like 20% or something. Don't quote me on this, but I mean the idea behind this multiple choice exam is questionable anyway.
Yeah. Well, I've just built a course, Ethics Beyond the Code, and it has a multiple choice in it for each of the 5 lessons, so as it complies with ICF wishes.
Yeah.
But the majority of it's deeply reflective and developmental, actually, for ethical acuity. So we'll see how we go, trying to nut away at that. I just want to make sure I hit all the questions, because I'm aware of how much time we've already used of yours in having a chat. So I'm not sure how flexible you are with your time.
I'm flexible.
So the challenge you've described is the current day in process. Still going to take a while to nut out, but it's how does it impact you in your work now? Like having to walk through it now, and it's going to be ongoing for a while, because it's going to take a while for evolution to happen.
I think I oscillate between, hey, let's make this work for people, and oh, bye. And we are an ICF accredited training school, because you don't have a business as a training school if you're not ICF accredited.
Yeah.
And I also don't want to join the woo-woo brigade, yeah, or the take this. I just thought a 5-hour course and you become a certified ADHD coach. Yeah, so how to hold up our ethical standards of thinking and being with the client, and collaboration, and helping every one of our students stay who they are and coach in the way that only they can coach, and still fulfill the ICF competencies, and still teach people so that they will get their accreditation. EMCC is a lot easier because it allows for more variety and for more reflection, and the ethical challenge there is I'm helping people jump through hoops that I sometimes really don't believe in. But would I be ethical if I didn't give them the certifications, and then they learn something which is going to be great for their lives, but it's not anything that they can build a business with? So that's the impact it has on my world and my life. And just yesterday, I had a lovely conversation with a woman from Africa who had failed the PCC exam and was devastated. This woman holds a doctorate. She's a highly competent coach, highly competent individual, but is used to writing scientific papers and essays, and not used to clickety-clicking through, I would say, unclear English and guessing what the worst option for a coach is in the situation that is described in 5 lines. So,
wow.
And that's when I feel this ethical impact.
Yeah.
I want to tell this woman, listen, the exam is, insert your favorite expletive. It's not your fault, it's the exam's fault. But that doesn't help her. If she builds resistance towards the exam, it doesn't help her pass it. So that's where I'm feeling the impact.
Yeah.
And I still see, okay, the idea of let's have a test, let's have something that that does differentiate between someone who says 5-hour course ADHD coach and somebody who has had a thorough education and some self-reflection and knows what they're doing and why they're doing it. So yeah, it remains difficult. And I love this quote. I don't have a solution, but I certainly admire the problem.
And I guess the thing is that what I've certainly noticed in my working with the coaching bodies is that while I disagree with some things that are happening, but they're all coming from, I think, the right kind of place. They're all trying to make coaching a credible profession, and for
Yes.
it to be seen and understood and worked in the way that it's meant to, which is to be doing good and to be supporting people. So even amongst all those challenges, I recognize the goodness that's there.
Exactly. And that's why I really appreciate the people working for ICF and Magda and Joel and Carrie from Credentials. They're lovely, lovely people. And I support them in their goal. It's just that I would prefer this to be different. But okay. This is my preference again.
So that's a huge ongoing challenge that you have and many of us have. But if you were to look forward now, and then sitting there in that forward seat and then looking over the shoulder and saying, what is it that you'd like your legacy to be?
Oh, short of revolutionizing organizational psychology and psychology in general, I think if I can be an advocate for real and human relations that respect and honor the client in their relationships, in their stories, with a humility of the coach and an ability to work with ambiguity, to be aware of the complexity, the real complexity, and it's not just added complicatedness, but the real complexity of what are we doing when we are having a conversation that is supposed to help another person. So if I can nourish that worldview a little bit more into being, that would be a cool legacy.
Lovely. Lovely, lovely. And second last question. What do you see as being the most pressing issue? I mean, maybe you've already spoken to it, but the most pressing issue of the day, and how do you think you can help move that along?
I think in the coaching field, the most pressing issue is that we don't agree what quality of coaching is, and that we don't know which epistemology we are basing our judgment on.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, in the world, I think it's the divisiveness of our communication media that has people move into solidified truths out of communication, out of a culture of discussion and debate, where a lot is almost seen, where like a challenge is seen as an attack on your identity, rather than hey, oh, interesting, so you believe this, I believe that, and let's agree on some rules for what will count as an argument, and because Jesus said so is not count as an argument, and because Karl Marx said so also doesn't count as an argument. So having ways to talk to one another across identities, across belief systems, across this enmity, whatever the English word is, that I'm seeing it. It's deeply worrying when I look at what is happening in the United States, and also in Europe, in parts where people are in their bubbles, and it's very, very hard to gain access to them. And when you are discussing, people are no longer used to, not people, but the danger is that there is no fixed, or no, it doesn't have to be fixed, but no culture of what can be a fruitful debate, what can be a fruitful discussion. And I think this, I think that. I think that's really something where coaches can help. Yeah, because even if you are an individual coaching psychologist on the side of rational positivism, you still have the skills to talk to people.
Yep.
And if we can make use of that, I think that would be cool.
For some reason, as you and I I'm listening to you talking about this, you know what keeps coming up for me? And I don't know why, but I think it's probably true, but I don't know why it's coming up right now, right? That's what I'm not understanding, but it's that there's just so many male leaders at every level of society. And the women that do come up end up in some way battered around so much in different ways. They're expected to perform differently. that they're not in it generally for a long time. I mean, the German chancellor, Angela Merkel, she was different. She was around forever, and that was amazing. Whether you agreed with her or not, just from a gender perspective, it was wonderful.
Mm.
And that's just what's coming up for me. Just as you were talking, for some reason, it just kept coming up. Gender.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. I think we're I think gender is a social construct. We are performing gender with Judith Butler. I would say it's not something, you know, I'm not born a woman. I choose to perform woman, and or maybe I'm not even choosing it. I am being identified as, or yeah. But definitely, woman is a political category, and I don't think that women are better than men or men are better than women. I don't, you know, I don't think it makes sense to say like, well, this men are from Mars and women are from... Okay, let me not get sidetracked by that, but um,
But
I
there are
think,
societal expectations around those roles, those gender roles that we are in, and it's those societal expectations that you're having to walk through and battle with as you're moving around.
and I think we're kind of all women and men recruited into a worldview of what is a man and what is a woman, and you know, sentences that start with, well, as a woman, they're always wrong. And sentences that start with as, or all, yeah, all men, not all. It's so complicated. And I wish we could speak about our experiences as humans. And I don't want to fall into the trap of saying I'm colorblind. I mean, humans and our privileges and our rights and duties that are not equitable, and they're not different. I think these qualities of dialogue are ascribed more to women. And the qualities of, I am strong and I have this worldview, follow me, are more ascribed to the masculine. I don't think they belong to men or women, but if you would ask 100 people, somebody who says, I am strong, follow me, they would probably more think it's a man.
Yep.
And
Yep.
and I think we do need more of the qualities of, hey, I'm interested in you. I would like to listen to your story. I want to hear about your experience before I engage with you and disagree with you or debate with you or challenge you or try to disprove you. And it's very difficult if you're coming from this kind of an attitude, I think, to be in a place where listening to is not so prevalent. And I can be in talks, I can be very provocative and say, oh, rubbish, right? A, it has entertainment value, and B, it clarifies things. Yeah. but but I say it with a smile and with appreciation for the person. And I think, I don't know, maybe that's anyway. Those are my thoughts around this.
Yeah. No, I find it fascinating just that we could just pick up there. So as we finish off, and I've enjoyed this conversation, I've been so much so that I've finally went, I need to keep track of time because like I'm just so in it that I don't want to overtime you. So any final words that you have for us that you would just want to share about anything?
I really would like listeners to reflect. And this quote on thinking with and thinking about comes from Harlene Anderson, the founder of collaborative practice, collaborative therapy. So channel your inner Harlene and ask yourself, in my practice, well, when am I thinking about? When am I thinking with? What's my preference? What's my relationship to both? What does that have to do with my personal ethics? And that might be an interesting think.
Some lovely reflective prompts there for everyone. Take you off into a deep space with some wonderful, colourful outcomes, I'm sure. Thank you so much for coming on and having a chat with me today, Kirsten.
Thank you. I'm so glad.